Hello everyone, watch this review here where they look at the Thundercats Classic Mumm-Ra. Now this is the revamped Thundercats Classic line. I always go to call it Classics, but technically it's just Classic, which is on the 6-inch scale instead of the 8-inch, in addition to other kind of crappy changes. But interestingly enough, if you compare the 8-inch box against the new 6-inch box, you'll realize it's actually basically the same packaging. The funny thing is the biggest difference between the two packages is just this little thing over here, where they have this little burst going out to the side. Just a little bit more decorated. And even when you flip the packaging around, basically use the same format. So I mean, it's really kind of interesting. That's the only way I can really put it. The only other major difference, though, is they used a more realistic image for the Thundercats character here, and then a more cartoony one on the newer packaging. I'm not sure if that's the case all around, because I didn't pick up the new lino, but I believe it was. So yeah, I guess kind of funny. Also, they now have this little thing with the name here as opposed to this one, which didn't have the name on the front of the package. Just assumed you knew who these characters were. But hold on a second till I get them out packed. Now, I should warn you that there are many different defects you may see with these in stores. First off, around the helm area here, you'll have some exposed glue on many of them. This one is not that bad, but I've seen pretty massive globs, so it's a major issue. You'll also have random paint bleed on the skirt here. Like the white portion will go down pretty far on some figures. This one has a little bit of bleed on the side. The other weird issue is you'll occasionally notice like weird speckling or something, like the plastic, or I mean this, like these sparks will be in the plastic. So see a black dot here, another dot over here, which bugs the hell out of me. The final issue, which potentially is one of the most annoying as well, is the eyes won't always be fully painted in, so just be aware of those potential issues when you're selecting one off the shelf if you have the luxury. If you're buying online, this is a total crapshoot. Frankly, I have the eye issue, then I have the two marks here, but the other ones not as readily apparent. And while I could just wait and search for one that's a little bit better, I figured I'd just go ahead and open this one up. Now, unlike these other characters in the line, Mumm-Ra's little backboard thing, rather than be the Thundercats logo, is his sort of Twin Cobra's logo that's on his chest. I don't remember what the insignia is actually called, but it's a really neat touch. So I mean, at least they're going the extra mile in some places. In most regards, though, the new Thundercat Classics are a pretty massive step down in terms of quality. The most glaring issue being that they now have exposed screws, which wasn't something that was on the previously released 8-inch figures, but was widely seen with their normal 6-inch releases for the newer Thundercat stuff. Frankly, this drives me nuts. There's no reason they should be doing this. And I think they'll probably be using this a little bit less with figures going forward, because the Chitara doesn't have the exposed screws, although that has all sorts of other issues. At least I hope they'll be fixing that going forward. I don't know. Bandai, by the way, is just notorious for not doing anything with the backs of their figures. If you remember the Power Rangers from some time ago, like you'd turn them around, they'd have like the stripes and everything on the front, then the back there would be like nothing painted in. It's like, oh my god, it's just annoying as hell. The other thing is with the scaled down sides and stuff, rather than give us the same types of interchangeable hands, like if you look at the original lino here, when you pull it out you would have this little, I guess you'd call it a revolver joint, but there's technically another term for it, and peg in. Instead, it's just a physical ball with the new ones. which granted actually does make it a little bit easier to flip things in and out, but you lose out on a lot of the movement, and again, the thing has a tendency to pop, which is annoying. In terms of accessories, we have an alternate pair of hands here for Mumm-Ra, as well as some bandages, which I mean is kind of neat. The bandages do plug into the exposed screw spots, so I mean they moderately justifies their being there, although they're also the same issue in the Lino, supposedly the newly released one, which has no excuse for it. And all the same, there should have been like so many more tasteful ways to do this. Imagine I'm probably putting these ones in the wrong direction. Yeah. But yeah, they plug into the back, or if you want, you can probably just wrap them around the arms or something. Here's Mumm-Ra up against the previously released Classics Lino. I mean, it's just also a shame that they led with Lino Tigra for the larger Classic line, rather than Lino Mumm-Ra, which, would have been the logical choice. But for the new re-released Thundercat Classics line, they did start with Lino and Mumm-Ra. A different face sculpt on the Lino, though. By the way, the fact that they choose to release 2 Thundercats Classics at a time drives me absolutely bonkers. Quick scale comparison, let's quickly toss in the new Thundercats Chitara, which I picked up because at this point I don't think we will be getting a Classics Chitara, just given the overall trend. Now, one of the advantages to the new smaller ones is that you can scale your classic characters with the new show ones, which means nice and all, but this was really the better value. Especially where price points are concerned, because the MRSP for the original Classics figures was, I think it was $17. It's currently what you can get them on Amazon right now too, versus the $15 that they were charging for the 6-inch figures, and for the additional 2 inches and the added quality and stuff, definitely a better value. One of the other things you'll notice is they opted to give single joints for the knees instead of double joints. And generally, I guess their articulation is probably just a little bit less than these. Although, I mean, it's hard to tell because Mumm-Ra is not a one-to-one comparison. But quick run through of articulation for people who are wondering. You do have a joint at the head with a really limited up-down, the usual range of rotation, ball-jointed shoulder, very smooth joint, rotation at bicep, which is something that strangely is lacking on the new Thundercats figures, or the new characters from the line. I'm not sure why they don't do that, because it's kind of essential. Surprisingly though, when you go and look at these, this is billed at 18 points of articulation. She's also billed at 18 points of articulation, so I'm really not sure how they're figuring that. Especially considering that he does have a bit more, it looks like. And I could be mistaken. But you have a single joint here at the elbow. Hands are on a physical ball. Also, before I forget, it's just kind of weird that he's got like these hands sculpted to hold something when the character doesn't really hold anything. He doesn't come with any real accessories other than the bandages, which I guess you could sort of hold and wave around, but I don't know, it's just kind of not the same thing. I suppose it's probably what it's for, though. I mean, that's the only logical explanation. At the waist, we have this rather nice joint with some forward back motion, addition to side, although when you try to go side to side to the skirt, it will kind of force the joint up. Otherwise, it won't go across. Legs are on the believe probably a physical ball or something similar to what Chitara here has, as well as having a cut here at the upper thigh, perfectly concealed by the loincloth / skirt. By the way, Mumm-Ra, he's not wearing any underwear. You turned on? I'm not. Thankfully, he's not anatomically correct, 'cause nobody wants to see mummies shriveled up, whatever. But yeah, he got single joint here at the knee, and at the ankle, the forward back, in addition to a pivot. Pretty cool joint down there. Good range of motion. Now, although the Mumm-Ra is pretty decent, solid sculpting, and it basically is something I would have loved to have seen. Actually, I'm happy to see. Scratch that. At the same time, I just can't help but think how much better he would have been on a larger scale. Interesting tidbit, supposedly Bandai hasn't ruled out the 8-inch scale. They just decided to continue the Thundercats classics at this scale. At some point they'll be doing other stuff at the 8-inch maybe. I'm not sure if that means we'll eventually get an 8-inch Mumm-Ra with better quality and everything. Although one could hope. I mean, I half suspect that if they do go the 8-inch route again, they might actually port some of the newer characters or the characters from the new cartoon into it as well. By the way, the little things here are bent on his bracelets. Can't remember if it's supposed to be that way. All in all, Mumm-Ra is pretty decent. Again, not a lot of paint variation, because these are based on the cartoon, and the cartoon's mostly solid colors. He does have the shiny gold greaves, and then bracelets, armband things, and then on the helmet. I really do like the detail that they gave on his face and head. Although, again, paint, real issue. Especially when they don't paint one of the eyes in all the way. And I just really hate the fact that we have all these exposed screws. It's like, why? Nah. Otherwise, pretty decent figure, and, probably an essential pickup. Even more so than the Lion-O, because we already have a Lion-O. And he's pretty damn awesome. But yeah, this has been a look at the Thundercats Classics, the new 6-inch ones. Put out by Bandai. Until next time, folks. Alright, so I actually forgot to point out that you have articulation at the boot as well. I feel really bad about that, because I was noticing that earlier and then completely forgot to point it out when doing the articulation. The only drawback with this whole boot is when you do the sculpt, you don't get much forward foot motion, which somewhat impedes your posability.